said, man, like years back, when I was in the media a lot, I was on television, I was viral, my name was out there a lot. You know, he came hating back then. I think he's just a hating ass nigga, man. Like anybody that's doing good within the Black and Latino community, he start hating on them. You know what I mean? He never does it to people from other walks of life, though. It's very interesting. Back then, you know, like I said, I was constantly in the media, just doing my thing. He came on my page with a little weed.
Something about this moment didn't just surprise people, it shocked them. When Papoose casually referred to Remy Ma as his ex, it didn't feel like a mistake. It didn't sound like a slip of the tongue. It sounded intentional, and that one word instantly changed everything people thought they knew about their relationship. For years, they were seen as one of the strongest, most loyal couples in the industry, the kind of relationship people pointed to as proof that real love still exists in the spotlight. And in just one moment, that image cracked. At first, people didn't even believe it. The clip started circulating, and the immediate reaction was confusion. Some thought it was taken out of context. Others assumed there had to be more to the conversation that wasn't shown. After all, calling someone your ex isn't something you just say casually, especially when the entire world believes you're still together. So naturally, people started replaying the moment, listening carefully, trying to catch any hint that it might have been misunderstood. But the more they watched it, the clearer it became. He said what he said. And that's when the conversation exploded. Social media didn't just react, it erupted. Fans who had followed their relationship for years were caught off guard. Some were in denial, refusing to believe that things had changed so drastically without any clear public signs. Others immediately started connecting dots, looking back at recent moments, interviews, and appearances, trying to find clues that might have hinted at this shift before it became public. Because when something like this happens suddenly, people assume it wasn't actually sudden. They assume it's been building quietly behind the scenes. And the more people looked, the more questions they found. Had there been signs that were missed? Were there moments that felt different but didn't get enough attention at the time? It's interesting how perspective works, how something that once felt normal can suddenly look completely different once new information is introduced. That's exactly what was happening here. Old moments were being reanalyzed through a new lens, and that lens was changing everything. But just when people thought they were starting to understand what was going on, another name entered the conversation: Claressa Shields. And that's when things went from surprising to complicated. Because now it wasn't just about a relationship possibly ending. It was about new connections, new possibilities, and the idea that there might be more happening behind the scenes than anyone realized. At first, her name came up quietly, just a few mentions here and there, nothing too direct. But then it started gaining traction. People began asking why her name was being linked to this situation. What was the connection? Was it real or just speculation? And just like before, the lack of clear answers only made the conversation grow stronger. Because uncertainty creates curiosity, and curiosity keeps people watching. As more details, or at least perceived details, started circulating, the situation became harder to ignore. Some believed there was something real connecting Claressa to the situation, pointing to subtle interactions, timing, and moments that seemed to align in a certain way. Others dismissed it completely, arguing that the internet was doing what it always does, creating narratives out of incomplete information. But regardless of what people believed, one thing was clear: the situation was no longer simple. Meanwhile, Remy Ma became the center of a very different kind of attention, the kind that doesn't begin with a statement, but with the absence of one. In situations where public tension is already high, people don't just listen for words, they also watch carefully for what's missing. And in her case, what immediately stood out was the lack of a clear public response. That alone shifted attention toward her. Not because she had said something dramatic, but because she hadn't said anything at all that directly explained where she stood. In an environment where everyone expected a reaction, silence became noticeable almost instantly. People began checking her social media more closely, revisiting recent posts, studying timing, captions, and even ordinary activity for signs that might reveal emotion beneath the surface. A single post suddenly felt significant, even if it was unrelated. A delayed appearance online became part of the speculation. Even something as small as choosing not to engage publicly began attracting interpretation. That's how silence works in highly visible moments. It rarely stays neutral for long. People naturally begin asking what it means. Is it restraint? Emotional control? A refusal to participate? Or simply a choice to maintain privacy while the outside world demands visibility? In Remy's case, those questions multiplied because audiences already understood that her silence carried weight. Her history, personality, and public presence meant people didn't assume her quietness was accidental. Instead, they treated it as intentional, even without knowing why. And once silence is viewed as intentional, every possible meaning starts competing at once. Some interpreted it as strength, the decision not to speak from emotion while public attention was at its peak. In that reading, silence suggested control, patience, and a refusal to let outside noise dictate timing. Others believed it could be strategy. In public life, timing matters, and many assumed that choosing not to respond immediately might have been a deliberate effort to avoid feeding a cycle that was already growing too quickly. Another group saw something more personal in it, the possibility that silence was simply a way of processing something deeply emotional without inviting millions of strangers into that process. Because not every reaction happens publicly, even when the public expects it to. Sometimes silence isn't performance at all. It's space to think, to feel, and to separate personal truth from public demand. But the challenge is that public audiences rarely leave silence untouched. They interpret it anyway, and those interpretations often go far beyond reality. A quiet moment can be called strength by one person, pain by another, calculation by someone else. None of those interpretations may fully reflect what the person is actually experiencing. Yet all of them begin shaping public understanding, creating a difficult position for anyone at the center of attention. Speaking risks escalation, but silence invites projection. And projection can become powerful because people often fill empty space with whatever fits the story they already believe. That's one of the hardest realities of living in the public eye. Silence rarely remains just silence. The moment someone chooses not to respond, that quiet instantly becomes part of the narrative. People analyze it, discuss it, and attach meaning to it, whether the person intended that or not. A lack of words can quickly be treated like a statement of its own, especially when emotions are already high and attention is fixed on every detail. As the days passed, the situation didn't calm down, it intensified. Instead of fading, the conversation expanded. More voices entered, more opinions surfaced, and the story began shifting depending on who was speaking. Social media filled with competing interpretations, each side convinced they were seeing the truth more clearly than the other. Some strongly supported Papoose, arguing that if he chose to use a word with that much weight, then he must have had serious reasons behind it. To them, language like that doesn't appear without emotion, and emotion suggests something deeper had already happened behind the scenes. Others defended Remy Ma, insisting that one word, no matter how powerful, shouldn't be allowed to define an entire relationship, especially one that had been so visible, so discussed, and for years widely respected by the public. Then attention shifted again toward Claressa Shields. Her role became another major focus, with many questioning what her position in the situation really meant, and whether her presence would change how the story moved forward. With every new opinion, the narrative became less certain, but far more intense. What made everything even heavier was the emotional weight behind it. This wasn't just about headlines or trending topics. It was about a relationship people had invested in emotionally, a relationship that represented something real to many fans. And when something like that appears to change suddenly, it doesn't just feel like news, it feels personal. At the same time, a deeper layer of the conversation began to emerge: how relationships survive or don't survive under constant public attention. Because being in the spotlight adds a level of pressure most people never experience. Every move is watched. Every word is analyzed. Every moment becomes part of a larger narrative that you don't fully control. And that pressure can change things. It can create distance, misunderstandings, or simply make it harder to navigate normal challenges within a relationship. So when something like this happens, it's not always as simple as it looks. There are layers the public may never fully see, reasons that may never be completely explained. As the situation continued to unfold, one thing became clear. This wasn't over. Not even close. Because once a story reaches this level of attention, it doesn't just disappear, it evolves. New details emerge. New reactions follow. New perspectives are introduced. And each of those elements adds another layer to the story. People started asking bigger questions, not just about what happened, but about what comes next. Will there be a clear explanation? Will anyone involved decide to speak more directly? Or will things remain in this space of uncertainty, where people are left to interpret everything on their own? And maybe that's what keeps people watching the most. Not just the drama, not just the shock, but the unknown. The feeling that there's more to the story than what's been revealed so far. The possibility that something else could happen at any moment. Something that changes everything again. Because if one word, just one word, can shift the entire narrative, then what happens if more words are spoken? What happens if more details come out? What happens if the silence is finally broken? For now, the conversation continues. People are still debating, still analyzing, still trying to make sense of something that doesn't feel fully clear yet. And until there's more clarity, that conversation isn't going anywhere. Because in the end, this wasn't just about calling someone an ex. It was about what that word represents, the possibility of change, the reality of relationships evolving, and the way a single moment can reshape everything people thought they understood. And right now, it feels like this story is still being written.